There's a force inside you that never sleeps. And once you remember it, your entire world will change. This audiobook is your call to awaken the energy that creates worlds. When you stir that hidden current, the universe moves. The unstoppable force. Introduction. In the silent chambers of forgotten temples and the echoing corridors of sacred sanctuaries, an ancient force murmurs, a pulse that has forever guided those who dared to attune to its rhythm. This is not a truth etched in stone or sealed in cryptic tomes. It is the essence that resides within you, humming beneath your flesh, flowing in the current of your breath. You are the vessel of a force unbound by action or toil, swifter than the flight of light, more immediate than thought itself. It bends the fabric of reality with the certainty of celestial law. This power does not ask for years of devotion or rites of passage. It simply waits, silent and patient, for you to awaken to its presence. The universe does not bend to what you do. It dances to what you are. Your energy, the unseen yet undeniable aura that radiates from the depths of your being, commands existence, rippling through realms beyond time and space. When you align with this elemental truth, creation flows from you as effortlessly as breath from your lungs. This sacred knowledge has not been guarded by gates or chains, but veiled by the mist of human forgetting. Yet now, as these words pass into your hands, you stand before the gateway of remembrance. Every phrase, every whisper woven into these lines is a key, unlocking the forgotten chambers hidden deep within your soul. But mark this. The force you awaken answers as lightning does the storm. Once stirred, it moves with such startling speed that the mind may falter in its attempts to grasp the unfolding of reality. This is no enchantment, no fantasy. It is the immutable law of the cosmos, as steadfast as gravity, as inevitable as the dawn. These pages you traverse are not mere ink and parchment. They are living currents, ancient frequencies, resonating with the core of who you are. As you read, they will read you. They will stir what has always been known, but long buried beneath the noise of the world. Approach this wisdom as you would the sacred, a flame that can illuminate or consume. For once you grasp these principles, once you embody the truth they carry, your world will shift, transform, and unfold with such grace and precision that even your breath will pause in reverence. Part 1. The Awakening, Stirring the Hidden Current. Chapter 1. The force within you has never slept. In a small village where sunlight painted shadows through latticed windows lived Eleanor, a seamstress whose nimble fingers created beauty from simple cloth. Day after day she worked in silence, mending tears and crafting garments, while life seemed to pass her by. One morning, as golden light streamed through her workshop window, she paused in her stitching and whispered to herself, "I am more than this." No fanfare accompanied her words. No dramatic gesture marked the moment. Yet in that breath, something shifted in the fabric of her reality. You must understand, the power that courses through existence has never been separate from you. Like Eleanor, you carry within your being a force so natural, so intrinsic, that you have overlooked its presence. This force does not need to be earned or learned. It awaits only your recognition. Think of a stream that has always flowed beneath your feet. You may have walked above it countless times, never hearing its song, never feeling its movement. Yet the moment you become aware, you realize it has shaped the very ground you stand upon. Such is the nature of the unstoppable force within you. It has never ceased its flow, never diminished its power. Your awareness alone determines whether you wade in its waters or remain on the shore of ignorance. As days passed, Eleanor noticed subtle changes. Customers who once haggled over prices now gladly paid her worth. Opportunities appeared as naturally as morning dew. Her work, unchanged in technique but transformed in essence, began drawing admirers from neighboring towns. She had altered nothing in her outer world. She simply acknowledged the power that had always resided within. These changes in Eleanor's life mirror a universal truth. Your energy precedes all physical action. Before a word is spoken, before a step is taken, your inner current broadcasts its signal to the cosmos. The world you see is but a reflection of this invisible broadcast. When you realize this truth, you understand why some seem blessed by fortune, while others struggle against endless tides. The difference lies not in their actions, but in their inner alignment with this ever-present force. Now place your hand upon your heart. Feel its steady rhythm, a drum that has beaten since before you drew your first breath. Whisper these words, letting them rise from that same sacred space. I have always had the force. I simply choose to remember. Let these words become your truth, your awakening to what has never left you. Chapter 2. The Law That Listens Instantly. In the quiet dawn of an ordinary Tuesday, Walter stood at his kitchen window, sipping his morning coffee. After 30 years of delivering mail through rain, snow, and sunshine, retirement had given him time to appreciate life's simple pleasures. That morning, overcome with an inexplicable feeling of joy, he spoke to the empty kitchen. I am so thankful for all the wonderful travels awaiting me. He didn't own a passport, had no savings for travel, yet his words carried the weight of pure certainty. You must understand the profound truth hidden within Walter's spontaneous declaration. The universe operates at a speed beyond human comprehension, responding not to the words you speak, but to the energetic signal you transmit. When you align your inner state with the frequency of what you desire, manifestation occurs at the speed of thought. Your emotional frequency acts as a constant broadcast to the universal field. Every moment you are sending signals through your feelings, beliefs, and expectations. These signals are received and answered instantly, though the physical manifestation may take time to arrange itself in your visible reality. The key lies not in how many times you ask, but in the vibrational quality of your asking. Later that same afternoon, Walter received an unexpected phone call. His niece, working for an airline, had received companion passes she couldn't use. "Uncle Walter," she said, "would you like to travel anywhere in the world? These passes are valid for a year." Within hours of his grateful morning declaration, the universe had already begun orchestrating his desire's fulfillment. This swift response wasn't coincidence. When Walter spoke his words of gratitude, he wasn't hoping or wishing. He was declaring from a place of pure alignment. His emotional state matched the feeling of already having received his desire. This perfect match of energy and intention created an immediate response in the universal field. The law responds to your signal with mathematical precision. When you speak from the vibration of "it is done," the universe moves mountains to match your inner certainty. It doesn't require convincing or repeated requests. It requires only your aligned energy. Now, find a quiet moment in your day. Speak these words of gratitude for 3 things you desire, but speak as though they have already manifested. Thank you for this beautiful home that brings me such peace. Thank you for this vibrant health that fills my body. Thank you for this abundant wealth that flows effortlessly into my life. Let your heart fill with the same genuine gratitude you'd feel upon receiving these gifts. Feel the emotion as though your desires are already yours, for in the universe's eyes, they already are. Chapter 3. The Thought That Changed Everything. In a small farmhouse, as war clouds gathered over distant horizons, Clara sat at her wooden table each morning. While others rushed to read dire headlines, she would close her eyes and see her son, Thomas, safe and whole. "My son walks in divine protection," she would whisper, letting the truth of these words fill every cell of her being. Though conscription notices arrived in neighboring homes, Clara maintained her inner knowing with unwavering certainty. Your thoughts carry a power that transcends physical laws. When you align your inner vision with absolute knowing, you initiate a sequence of events beyond mortal understanding. This is not mere positive thinking. It is spiritual law in action. A thought held in perfect clarity, saturated with unwavering faith, becomes a command to the universe itself. The power lies not in the words you choose, but in the feeling tone of absolute certainty that accompanies them. When you know something at the deepest level of your being, that knowing begins to reshape the very fabric of reality. Your consciousness becomes the chisel that carves new pathways through the field of infinite possibilities. This is why Clara's quiet certainty held more power than all the frightening headlines combined. She had tapped into a law as real as gravity, that consciousness precedes matter, that inner knowing reshapes outer circumstance. As summer turned to autumn, a curious thing occurred. Thomas's unit received unexpected orders. While other young men marched toward conflict, he was assigned to a medical corps far from the front lines. Clara's neighbors called it luck, but she recognized it as law, the perfect outworking of her sustained spiritual knowing. When you plant a seed in fertile soil, you don't dig it up each day to check its progress. You trust in the unseen process of growth. Similarly, when you hold a thought in the fertile soil of absolute knowing, you need not question how it will manifest. The universe itself becomes the means of its expression. Now, take a moment in silence. Choose one area of your life where you seek transformation. Write a single sentence that captures the reality you wish to experience, not as a future hope, but as a present truth. Perhaps, divine order guides my every step, or abundant wealth flows to me naturally. Sit with this thought in perfect stillness. Let it sink deep into your consciousness until you feel its truth in every fiber of your being. This is not an exercise in imagination. It is the activation of universal law. Chapter 4. You are not asking, you are commanding. In the dim light of a seaside tavern, Roy sat at his weathered piano, fingers hovering over the keys. For years he had played with technical perfection, yet something was missing. Night after night, he would scan the sparse crowd, silently pleading for recognition. But this evening was different. As he settled onto the bench, he closed his eyes and allowed a profound shift to occur within. "I am music itself," he whispered, not as a wish, but as an acknowledgement of truth. You must understand the vital distinction between asking and commanding. When you ask, you position yourself as separate from your desire. When you command from spiritual authority, you speak as one who is already whole. This is not arrogance. It is alignment with universal law. The power that shapes worlds flows through you at every moment. It does not require permission or pleading. It awaits only your recognition of what already is. When you stand in the truth of your spiritual identity, the universe cannot help but respond. This is not manifestation through force. It is manifestation through alignment. In the second week of Roy's transformation, something shifted in the tavern's atmosphere. Though his repertoire remained unchanged, the room began to fill. Patrons who once talked over his music fell silent, drawn by an indefinable presence. A local reporter, having wandered in by chance, sat transfixed. Roy played as he always had, but now each note carried the resonance of certainty. What changed was not his skill, but his spiritual frequency. He no longer performed as one seeking approval. He played as music itself. The universe responded not to his playing, but to his being. This truth applies to every aspect of your existence. The universe responds not to your words or actions, but to the frequency of your spiritual knowing. When you declare from the throne of divine authority, you activate forces beyond physical comprehension. Practice. Stand tall, feeling the full presence of your spiritual authority. Speak these words aloud. I no longer ask, I declare from divine authority. Repeat this 3 times, allowing each declaration to emerge from deeper levels of knowing. Let your voice carry the weight of absolute certainty. Chapter 5. Why It's Always Been Delayed, and How to Fix It. In a small town where autumn leaves danced past classroom windows, Mabel lit another candle in her modest apartment. For 7 years she had followed the same ritual, kneeling beside her bed each night, hands clasped, whispering prayers for change. Her requests remained constant: a position at the prestigious academy across town, a chance to touch more lives, to make a greater difference. Yet each morning brought the same routine, the same classroom, the same unfulfilled dreams. You must understand a fundamental truth about the nature of creation. The universe does not respond to repetition. It responds to resonance. When your desires and beliefs exist in different frequencies, they create interference patterns that neutralize manifestation. This is why so many remain trapped in the cycle of asking without receiving. The power lies not in the asking, but in the knowing. When you hold 2 opposing energies, wanting something while simultaneously doubting its arrival, you create a spiritual stalemate. The universe cannot deliver to contradiction. It requires clarity, unity, and absolute alignment between your desire and your belief. One evening, as Mabel reached for her prayer beads, something shifted within her. Instead of kneeling, she stood tall. Instead of asking, she simply knew. I am done waiting, she declared to the empty room. I am a teacher of the highest caliber, and I serve where I can do the most good. The words carried no desperation, no pleading. They emerged as simple facts. 3 days later, the principal of the academy called. Their advanced literature teacher had accepted a position abroad. They needed someone immediately, someone with exactly Mabel's qualifications. The position Mabel had prayed for 7 years arrived within 72 hours of her decision. The difference was not in the universe's willingness to provide. The difference lay in Mabel's shift from divided energy to unified knowing. When she stopped splitting her power between hope and doubt, the path cleared instantly. You see, manifestation accelerates when you move from requesting to deciding. The universe does not require convincing. It requires your alignment with what already exists in potential form. Practice. Take a moment now. Write down one area of your life where you've been waiting. Be specific. Next to it, write these words: I choose to end the waiting. Close your eyes. Feel the shift from hoping to knowing. Let this new frequency permeate every cell of your being. The waiting ends not when the universe decides, but when you do. Chapter 6. The Force That Must Be Handled with Care. In the bustling financial district of a gleaming city, Eugene sat in his corner office, marveling at how quickly his life had transformed. Just months after discovering the force, his investments multiplied, opportunities appeared from nowhere, and doors opened before he could even reach for the handle. Yet, with each success, a strange unease grew within him. You must understand that the force you now wield is not a tool. It is a living current that flows through all creation. It responds to every ripple of your being, not just your conscious commands. This truth becomes crucial as your power grows, for the force accelerates whatever frequency you embody. When you tap into this ancient power, you enter a sacred covenant with universal law. The more immediate your manifestations become, the more vital your emotional mastery must be. For just as joy attracts joy, unchecked fear attracts its mirror, and scattered thoughts give birth to scattered circumstances. Eugene learned this lesson when his rapid success began to spiral. His anxiety about maintaining his achievements created sudden setbacks. His fear of losing new clients caused them to withdraw. His scattered energy about multiple opportunities led to confusion in his deals. The very power that had elevated him now magnified his inner turbulence. One morning, after a particularly chaotic week, Eugene encountered an old mentor who noticed his distress. Power without peace, the mentor said, is like lightning without a rod, brilliant but destructive. Those words shifted something in Eugene. He began treating his thoughts with reverence, understanding that each one was a seed planted in fertile universal soil. Before making decisions or setting intentions, he would center himself in stillness. He learned to feel the weight of his energy before releasing it into the world. Gradually, his manifestations aligned with this new stability. Deals flowed smoothly, relationships deepened, and opportunities arrived in perfect sequence rather than overwhelming waves. The force remained just as powerful, but now it moved through a clear channel. What Eugene discovered, you must also understand. The force does not distinguish between what you label as positive or negative. It simply amplifies and materializes whatever frequency you transmit. As your power grows, so must your awareness of the signals you send into the universe. Practice. Before engaging with any important thought or desire today, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Ask yourself, is this frequency worthy of commanding the force? Let this question be your guide, your sacred filter. For in this simple moment of consciousness, you align yourself with the highest use of your power. Chapter 7. The Fastest Way to Call It In. In a small cottage among flowering gardens, Doris stood by her window each morning, watching the mailbox with quiet longing. For 3 years since her beloved Thomas passed, she had waited for news about the family heirloom he had promised would return to her, a golden locket containing their wedding photograph. The force flows not through the minutes and hours of your calendar, but through the depths of your spiritual certainty. Time is merely a construct of the physical world, while manifestation operates in the eternal now. When you align your desire, emotion, and unwavering faith, you create a resonance so pure that the universe must respond with immediacy. Think of it as tuning a radio to perfect clarity. There is no waiting period between finding the right frequency and hearing the music. It simply is. This is how the force operates when you combine these 3 elements: crystal clear vision, pure emotion, and absolute spiritual knowing. That morning, something shifted in Doris. Instead of watching the mailbox with yearning, she closed her eyes and allowed herself to feel the cool metal of the locket in her hands. She experienced the joy of opening it, seeing their young faces smiling back at her. She felt the weight of it against her heart. But most importantly, she felt complete peace. No urgency, no need, just pure appreciation for this treasure she knew was already hers. The next morning, a letter arrived. It was from a small antique shop 3 states away. The owner had purchased an estate collection and found a golden locket with a familiar surname engraved on its surface. Inside was a photograph of a young couple, Doris and Thomas, on their wedding day. What changed? Not the physical location of the locket, not the passage of time. What changed was Doris's inner frequency. When she stopped reaching and started knowing, when she combined clear vision with pure emotion and spiritual certainty, she created a vibration that collapsed time and space. This is the trinity of manifestation. See it clearly, feel it completely, know it absolutely. When these 3 align, the force responds not to the calendar, but to the intensity of your spiritual signal. Practice. Choose one desire close to your heart. Close your eyes and create a complete sensory experience of having received it. Feel the textures, hear the sounds, see the colors, taste the joy. Let this vision fill you completely for exactly 90 seconds. But here is the crucial key. Feel it without needing it. Experience it as if it's already yours, with pure gratitude. Then, like releasing a dove into the sky, let it go completely into the care of universal law. Chapter 8. Every moment is a seed. In a small market town, where dawn's first light touched the storefronts, Frank arranged his produce with the same care he had shown for 20 years. Yet this morning felt different. His thoughts wandered to his mounting bills, and as if in response 3 regular customers walked past without entering. By midday, the fresh vegetables had begun to wilt, mirroring his spirits. You possess a power more immediate than you realize. Each thought you nurture, each feeling you harbor, plants itself in the fertile soil of universal law. This is not metaphor. It is spiritual science. The force that shapes worlds responds to your inner garden with precise accuracy. Most walk through life unaware they are master gardeners of the unseen. Their thoughts scatter like seeds in the wind, taking root in unconscious patterns. But you have the power to plant with purpose, to cultivate your reality with the same intention a master gardener tends their flowers. When you understand this truth, you realize there are no small moments. Each thought is a seed. Each feeling is water. Each belief is the soil in which your future grows. The universe does not distinguish between casual thoughts and intentional ones. It responds to all with equal power. Frank discovered this truth one morning when, before opening his shop, he paused to appreciate the simple beauty of fresh produce glistening with morning dew. He felt genuine gratitude for his small store, for the farmers who supplied him, for each customer who would walk through his door. Without knowing it, he had planted seeds of abundance. That day, something shifted. New customers appeared, drawn by an inexplicable warmth they felt upon entering. His regular patrons began sharing stories of how his market had become their favorite place to shop. Even his vendors offered him first choice of their finest produce. The vegetables seemed to stay fresher longer, and his shelves remained full without effort. Nothing had changed in his store, except the gardener's thoughts. Your present moment is not merely a point in time. It is sacred ground where your future takes root. Each thought you think, each emotion you feel, each moment of awareness or unconsciousness plants seeds that will bloom in the garden of your tomorrow. Practice. Set 3 distinct times today, morning, afternoon, and evening. At each interval, pause and ask yourself, what am I planting right now? Observe your thoughts and feelings with the care of a master gardener examining their soil. Notice what seeds you're sowing, seeds of worry or wisdom, doubt or determination, fear or faith. This awareness alone begins to transform the garden of your life. Chapter 9. How Fear Quietly Cancels Your Manifestations. In a small cottage at the edge of a village, Agnes sat at her wooden table each morning, reciting affirmations of abundance and success. Her reputation as a skilled midwife had grown over the years, yet a shadow lurked beneath her prayers. With each positive declaration, an undercurrent of worry whispered, "What if I make a mistake? What if something goes wrong?" You must understand this vital truth. Fear is not merely an absence of faith. It is a force unto itself. When you speak words of power while harboring fear in your heart, you create a divided signal. The universe, in its perfect responsiveness, cannot deliver to a frequency split between desire and dread. Your fears act as invisible guardians, protecting you from what you believe might harm you. Yet these same guardians can become prison walls, keeping your good fortune at bay. The law of attraction responds not to your words alone, but to the complete vibration you emit. When fear dwells beneath your desires, it creates a force field that repels the very things you seek to attract. Agnes discovered this truth one sleepless night. Instead of fighting her fears, she lit a candle and spoke to them directly. "I see you," she whispered to her worries. "You've tried to protect me, but I no longer need this shield." As she blessed each fear with understanding, something shifted in the atmosphere around her. The next morning, she was called to assist with a particularly challenging birth. Rather than allowing her usual anxiety to take hold, she remembered her practice from the night before. She blessed her fear. acknowledged its presence, and chose to trust instead. The delivery proceeded with unexpected ease, and word of her peaceful presence spread throughout the village. Her practice had not banished fear, it had transformed it. By meeting her fears with light instead of resistance, she had cleared the channel through which abundance could flow. Her affirmations, once divided by underlying dread, now carried the pure frequency of trust. You cannot manifest from a place of fear any more than you can warm yourself with ice. The universe responds to your deepest frequency, not your surface requests. When you bless your fears instead of battling them, you transmute their energy into fuel for transformation. Practice. Take a moment now to write down one fear that has been shadowing your desires. Hold this paper in your hands and speak these words aloud. Thank you for showing me where I need to heal. Feel the shift as you transform resistance into recognition. Then, with a deep breath, release this fear back to the universe, knowing it has served its purpose in bringing you to this moment of awareness. Chapter 10. The Sacred Pause Before Miracles. In the quiet hours before dawn, Harold sat on his front porch, watching the mist rise from the valley below. For 20 years he had struggled, pushed, and fought to rebuild his life after returning from war. Each day brought new battles, with paperwork, with memories, with hopes that seemed to slip further away. But this morning was different. As the sun's first rays touched the mountains, Harold simply stopped trying. You see, there exists a sacred moment between seeking and finding, a holy pause where miracles take root. Most walk right past this moment, too busy with their striving to notice its power. Yet it is in this very stillness that the universe does its finest work. When you cease the endless doing, when you release the constant reaching, you enter a magnetic field of pure potential. This is not surrender in the sense of giving up. It is surrender in the sense of allowing. The universe requires this space to deliver what you've been seeking. Think of a lake. When its surface is constantly disturbed by stones being thrown, it cannot reflect the sky clearly. But when the water grows still, heaven and earth meet in perfect reflection. Your consciousness works in much the same way. In stillness, it becomes a perfect mirror for manifestation. Harold discovered this truth without meaning to. After decades of knocking on doors, making calls, and fighting through systems, he simply sat down that morning and let go. No more trying, no more forcing. Just the quiet acceptance of what was, and a gentle openness to what might be. Later that afternoon, a knock came at his door. A fellow veteran had heard of his situation and offered the very opportunity Harold had been seeking all along. The path opened not through effort, but through allowing. You may find this truth unsettling at first. The world has taught you that achievement comes through constant action, that success must be chased and captured. But the highest spiritual law works in paradox. What you truly seek is seeking you. Your role is not to hunt it down, but to become still enough to be found. This stillness is not passive. It is alive with potential. It is the pregnant pause between the inhale and the exhale, the moment of perfect balance before creation surges forth. When you enter this sacred space, you align with the natural order of manifestation. Let go of the need to make things happen. Release the urgency that drives you to constant action. The universe's timing is perfect, and its methods are beyond your current understanding. Your role is to create the space where miracles can land. Practice. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Sit in complete silence. No affirmations, no visualizations, no requests. Simply be present in absolute trust. Let your breath become slow and steady. Feel the power of pure receptivity. This is not meditation. It is magnetic stillness, the space where miracles are born. Part 2. The activation, moving with power. Chapter 11. Desire is a sacred instruction. In a small village among ancient hills, Edith crafted candles by hand, each one a testament to patience and artistry. Though her work brought light to others, she harbored a secret shame, the burning desire for something greater. Each night, as she dipped wicks in warm wax, her heart yearned for expansion, for a workshop where she could create on a grander scale. Yet she pushed these thoughts away, believing such ambition to be unworthy, until one night, in the depths of sleep, a vision came to her. She stood in a vast garden where every flower was aflame, dancing with purpose. A voice clear as morning bells spoke. Your desires are not your own. They are messages from the infinite. You must understand this fundamental truth. Desire is not a human invention. It is a divine signal planted within you by the universe itself. When you feel that pull toward something greater, you are not being selfish. You are receiving instruction from your higher self. Think of how a flower knows to turn toward the sun, how a bird knows which direction to fly in winter. This knowledge comes from wisdom beyond conscious thought. Your desires operate in the same way. They are your spirit's compass, pointing toward what already exists in the field of infinite potential. Most souls dim their desires, believing them to be too grand, too selfish, or too improbable. But this dampening of sacred instruction is what truly blocks abundance. The universe speaks through your deepest longings, showing you what is already prepared for your receiving. Edith began honoring her desires as sacred messages. She stopped apologizing for wanting more. She treated her ambitions not as guilty secrets, but as divine appointments. Without pushing or straining, opportunities began appearing. A merchant offered space in the market square. A wealthy patron commissioned special orders. Her small candle shop expanded naturally, as if guided by an unseen hand. The truth revealed itself. Her desire for expansion wasn't random. It was a preview of what was already waiting in the quantum field of possibility. The longing itself was proof of its availability. When you feel a persistent desire, know this. It is not there to taunt you. It exists because its fulfillment is already complete in the spiritual realm. Your role is not to judge the desire, but to honor it as sacred correspondence from the infinite. Practice. Take a moment now to write down your 3 deepest desires. Don't censor them. Don't rationalize them. Let them flow from your heart onto the page. Then place your hand over these written words and speak aloud. This is sacred. I trust its arrival. Feel the power of acknowledging your desires as divine instruction rather than human wanting. This simple act aligns you with the spiritual law of manifestation. Chapter 12. Manifestation rituals that work instantly. In a small mining town where coal dust painted the sky, Stanley followed a ritual as consistent as the setting sun. Each evening, after washing away the day's grime, he would take out a simple white candle, just as his mother had taught him. "The flame speaks to something older than time," she'd say, her eyes reflecting wisdom passed down through generations. You see, within the simplest acts lies dormant power. When infused with intention, ordinary moments transform into bridges between the seen and unseen realms. This is the ancient truth about ritual. It is not mere repetition, but rather a focused channel through which the universe can flow. The power of ritual lies not in complexity, but in presence. When you perform an act with spiritual awareness, you create a vibrational signature that ripples through the quantum field. Each intentional movement becomes a command to the universe, each focused breath a declaration of alignment. Think of ritual as spiritual technology, a methodology for maintaining consistent frequency. Just as a radio must stay tuned to receive clear transmission, your energy field requires regular calibration to maintain manifestation momentum. Stanley's nightly practice was simple. He would light his candle, close his eyes, and allow his heart to fill with gratitude. No lengthy prayers, no complicated ceremonies, just pure presence with the flame and whatever arose in his spirit. One evening, as he sat in his usual ritual, a thought emerged about a new position at the mine, one he'd never considered before. The next day, without seeking it out, he was offered that exact role. This pattern continued. Each night's contemplation seemed to seed the next day's blessings. The flame had become more than light. It was a focal point for his consciousness, a sacred space where intention met universal law. Through this simple act, passed down through generations, Stanley had activated an ancient principle. When consciousness meets consistent ritual, the universe responds with precision. You must understand, ritual is not about perfection or complexity. It is about creating a reliable channel through which your intentions can flow clearly into the field of infinite possibility. When you establish sacred habits, you build a bridge between your current reality and the reality you wish to manifest. Practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Light a candle with presence, not rushing, not doubting. Let the flame center your attention. Speak one clear sentence about what you are allowing into your life. Feel these words rise from your core, carrying on your breath into the space around you. Then, with complete trust, blow out the candle, releasing your intention to the universe. This is not a wish. It is a sacred instruction, carried on the wings of ancient wisdom. Chapter 13. Stop asking. Start embodying. In the quiet halls of an old library, where wisdom lived in leather-bound volumes and whispered conversations, Loretta moved between the shelves with practiced grace. For years, she had arranged books about love while yearning for it herself. Each evening, she would close the library alone, her footsteps echoing through empty aisles, her prayers for companionship seemingly lost among the stories surrounding her. Then one day, something shifted within her soul. Instead of hoping love would find her, she began to move as though love already filled every corner of her life. She walked differently, her steps lighter, her smile knowing. She arranged flowers on her desk, not to attract love, but to celebrate it. She chose her clothes each morning as someone cherished would choose them. You must understand this fundamental truth. The universe responds not to what you want, but to what you are being. When you embody the energy of having received, you transmit a frequency that cannot be denied. This is not pretense. It is spiritual physics. Think of your desired reality as a radio station already playing. Your task is not to create the music, but to tune yourself to its frequency. This tuning happens through embodiment, through living as the version of you who already experiences what you seek. Most spend years broadcasting a frequency of wanting, wondering why their desires remain distant. But wanting and having vibrate at different frequencies. You cannot transmit lack and receive abundance. You cannot walk in loneliness and attract partnership. The universe matches what you are, not what you wish to be. In the weeks that followed her shift, Loretta noticed small changes. Conversations flowed more naturally. Unexpected invitations arrived. Then one afternoon, while reorganizing the poetry section, she met someone who spoke the language of her soul, not because she had wished harder, but because she had finally matched the frequency of being loved. This story reveals a truth older than time. Embodiment precedes manifestation. When you shift your way of being, reality must shift to match it. This is not magic. It is law. Practice. Choose one full day to live as though your desire is already fulfilled. If you seek love, move through your day as someone deeply loved. If you seek abundance, carry yourself with the quiet confidence of prosperity. Let this new way of being infuse every action. How you dress, how you speak, how you hold yourself. This is not acting. It is energetic alignment with what already exists in the quantum field, waiting to be claimed through resonance. Chapter 14. The Silent Signal That Speaks Louder Than Words. In a small workshop filled with the gentle ticking of timepieces, Raymond bent over his workbench, surrounded by the precise machinery of clocks. Each morning he would send out applications, his credentials impeccable, his experience vast. Yet doors remained closed, and the weight of rejection grew heavier with each passing day. The teachings you are about to receive carry a truth that has echoed through the ages. Your emotional frequency precedes all external change. As you absorb these words, understand that the universe responds first to your inner atmosphere, not your outer actions. Raymond's transformation began on an ordinary Tuesday. Amidst the rhythmic ticking of his beloved timepieces, he made a simple but profound choice. Instead of measuring his worth through responses to applications, he allowed himself to feel good, simply because he could. He began humming while he worked, took pleasure in the sunlight streaming through his workshop window, and smiled at the precise dance of gears and springs before him. You see, your emotional state is not merely a reaction to life. It is a broadcast to the universe. Every feeling you carry sends ripples through the quantum field, attracting circumstances that match its frequency. When you transmit desperation, even the most polished resume cannot override that signal. When you emanate joy, doors open without effort. Within days, Raymond noticed subtle shifts. A customer mentioned his name to a friend. An old colleague reached out unexpectedly. A chance encounter led to an opportunity he hadn't even imagined. The circumstances of his life began rearranging themselves, not because his skills had changed, but because his signal had transformed. This brings us to a fundamental law. The universe speaks the language of frequency. Your mood is not passive. It is a message being broadcast continuously into the field of infinite possibility. When you shift your inner atmosphere, you alter the instructions you send to the universe. Picture yourself as a living transmitter. Each emotion you carry is like a radio signal, drawing to you experiences that match its frequency. Joy attracts joy. Ease attracts ease. Love attracts love. This is not philosophy, it is spiritual science. Practice. 3 times today, pause and ask yourself, what is my signal right now? Morning, afternoon, and evening, become aware of the frequency you're broadcasting. If you find yourself transmitting worry, consciously shift into joy. If you catch anxiety, choose ease. If you sense lack, embrace abundance. This is not denial. It is conscious creation through frequency management. Chapter 15. Faith that feels like fire. In a small village where the echoes of war still lingered, Irene lived alone in a cottage surrounded by roses. Each morning, she would kneel by her bedside, hands clasped in quiet prayer, whispering gentle hopes for news of her husband missing in action. Her faith, though constant, was as soft as morning mist. The power you are about to discover transcends mere belief. It is the difference between a candle and a forge, between a whisper and a command. True faith does not ask permission from the universe. It declares with absolute certainty. When faith blazes, it transforms from passive acceptance into an unstoppable force. This is not about volume or repetition. It is about the quality of your knowledge, the intensity of your spiritual certainty. The universe responds not to the words of your prayers, but to the fire behind them. Irene's transformation came one dawn when something within her shifted. Standing in her garden, surrounded by the roses her husband had planted, she felt a surge of knowing unlike anything before. No more gentle prayers, no more hoping. In that moment, her faith erupted into flame. "He lives," she declared to the rising sun, her voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. This was not a request. It was a recognition of truth already written in the fabric of reality. Within a week, a letter arrived, then a telegram. Finally, footsteps on her garden path. Her husband, found alive in a remote village, guided home by what he described as an inexplicable certainty that she was waiting. You see, passive belief keeps miracles at arm's length. It is the blazing faith, the kind that burns through doubt and ignites the very air around you, that commands reality to reshape itself. This is the forgotten truth. Faith was never meant to be gentle. It was meant to be a force of nature, as powerful as lightning, as unstoppable as dawn. When you transform your faith from a quiet hope into an embodied fire, you alter the very field of possibilities around you. The universe cannot help but respond to this level of spiritual certainty. It is not about convincing the divine. It is about aligning so completely with your knowing that reality has no choice but to conform. Practice. Stand with your arms open wide to the sky. Feel the power of absolute knowing rise within you. Declare aloud, "I know it is done. I claim it with fire." Let your voice carry the weight of unshakable certainty. This is not an affirmation. It is a declaration of what is already true in the unseen realms. Chapter 16. Money, Time, and Miracles. They obey the same law. In a stately manor house, Douglas sat each morning in his leather chair, meticulously counting his pension and investments. Despite a lifetime of careful planning, he felt time and money slipping through his fingers like water. His ledger became a daily reminder of what he lacked, each entry a testament to scarcity. You must understand, money and time are not external forces that rule your existence. They are energetic frequencies that respond to your inner command. The moment you shift from seeing them as limited resources to viewing them as abundant expressions of universal energy, everything changes. When you treat money with resentment or fear, it responds accordingly. When you view time as an enemy, it becomes one. These are not mere psychological tricks. They are spiritual laws as real as gravity. The universe mirrors your relationship with abundance in all its forms. Douglas discovered this truth one autumn morning. Instead of his usual accounting ritual, he began a new practice. He blessed his bank statements. He thanked time itself for its generous flow. Rather than counting what was missing, he acknowledged the abundance already present in his life. A remarkable shift occurred. Business opportunities appeared without effort. His investments yielded unexpected returns. Most surprisingly, his days seemed to expand. Tasks that once consumed hours now flowed with elegant efficiency. The spiritual law governing abundance does not differentiate between forms. Whether you seek more time, money, love, or energy, the principle remains constant. Your relationship with one affects your relationship with all. Douglas found himself with more time and wealth than ever before. Not through complex strategies or exhausting effort, but through a fundamental shift in his energetic relationship with abundance itself. This mirrors a truth you must now embrace. Lack exists only as a story you tell yourself. When you rewrite that story with the language of divine abundance, the universe has no choice but to reflect your new narrative. This is not metaphor. It is spiritual law in action. The flow of abundance responds not to your actions, but to your energy. When you bless what you have, you activate a frequency that attracts more. When you thank time, it multiplies. When you honor money, it grows. This is the hidden mechanism behind all manifestations of abundance. Practice. For the next 24 hours, replace every complaint about money or time with a blessing. When you catch yourself thinking, "I don't have enough time," say instead, "Time flows abundantly in my favor." When worry about money arises, declare, "Money comes easily and frequently." Watch how reality reshapes itself to match your new energetic broadcast. Chapter 17. The day reality started to listen. Pearl sat at her piano each morning, methodically reciting affirmations while her fingers traced familiar melodies. I am successful. I am abundant. I attract perfect students. The words had become as mechanical as her scales, practiced but hollow. You must understand this vital truth. The universe responds not to repetition, but to resonance. When words are merely performed, they carry no power. It is only when your entire being aligns with the truth you speak that the law begins its instantaneous work. For months, Pearl had done everything right. She'd written her affirmations, visualized her success, and spoken her desires aloud. Yet something was missing, the sacred ingredient that transforms words into commands, genuine feeling. One evening, after her last student departed, Pearl slumped at her piano. Tears fell onto the ivory keys as she finally stopped trying to be perfect. In that raw moment of surrender, she whispered, "I don't need to prove anything. I am already enough." For the first time, her words carried the weight of truth. The law of attraction operates through emotional authenticity. When you strip away the performance and allow yourself to feel deeply, you transmit a frequency so pure that the universe cannot help but respond. This is not about quantity of practice, it is about quality of presence. The next morning, Pearl received a call from Maria, a former student she hadn't heard from in years. Maria had become a successful composer and was looking for a collaborator for her new symphony. She remembered Pearl's unique gift for bringing music to life. This swift response wasn't coincidence, it was spiritual law in action. The moment Pearl released her practiced perfection and embraced authentic feeling, she broadcast a new frequency. The universe responded not to her words, but to her truth. You see, manifestation accelerates when you stop performing spirituality and start living it. Your genuine emotional state is more powerful than 1,000 perfectly recited affirmations. The universe recognizes truth, and truth resides in feeling. Practice. Find a quiet space where you can be completely alone with your thoughts. Take one desire you've been affirming, perhaps one you've held close but haven't fully manifested. Strip away all pretense, all performance, all spiritual correctness. Release the need to use perfect words or maintain an enlightened appearance. Sit with this desire until you feel raw truth emerge from beneath the layers of practiced spirituality. When you reach that precious moment where your heart simply knows, "I am ready," stay there, dwelling in that sacred space of pure knowing. Let that authentic feeling, untainted by doubt or forced positivity, be your prayer to the universe. This is the frequency that moves mountains, transforms circumstances, and aligns you with the infinite power of creation. Chapter 18. When She Let Go, the Call Came. In a small cottage by the sea, Velma polished the same silver teapot for the third time that morning. Her weathered hands moved mechanically while her eyes drifted to the silent telephone. 6 months had passed without word from her son, Thomas, who had sailed to distant shores seeking his fortune. Each day followed the same pattern: desperate prayers, constant checking of the mail, and endless hours willing the telephone to ring. The more intensely she reached for news, the more the silence deepened. You must grasp this essential truth. The energy of attachment creates an invisible wall between you and your desire. When you clutch at what you want, you unknowingly push it away. This is not mere philosophy. It is spiritual physics. The universe operates through a delicate balance of giving and receiving, of holding and releasing. When your energy clings, it creates resistance in the very fabric of creation. Your attachment becomes a subtle form of fear, and fear always repels what you seek. True detachment is not cold indifference. It is a loving release. It is trust so deep that you no longer need to control the timing or manner of your blessing's arrival. This state of being opens channels that anxiety and attachment keep closed. One evening, as Velma lit her evening candle, something shifted within her heart. Looking at Thomas's photograph, she smiled and whispered, "I love you enough to let you be free. Your path is your own." For the first time in months, her words carried no weight of need or worry. They floated up like pure light, unburdened by expectation. That same night, as Velma prepared for bed, the telephone's sharp ring pierced the quiet house. Thomas's voice, warm and clear, filled her ear. He had wonderful news to share. news that had been trying to reach her all along. You see, the universe responds not to your asking, but to your allowing. When Velma released her son in love, she shifted from resistance to receptivity. This is the paradox of spiritual law. What you set free and trust often returns more swiftly than what you try to hold through force. Practice. Find a quiet moment. Picture your deepest desire resting in your open palms. Feel its weight, its importance. Now, with gentle breath and open heart, speak these words. I release you. I trust the return. Let your hands slowly open, allowing your desire to float free. This is not surrender to loss. It is surrender to divine timing. Trust that what is truly yours will always find its way back to you. Chapter 19. When you stop needing it shows up. In a small town where autumn leaves danced through quiet streets, Bernard sat alone at his kitchen table each morning. 5 years had passed since Martha's departure, and the empty chair across from him seemed to grow heavier with each passing season. He filled his days with routines, tending his garden, reading the morning paper, and watching the birds that visited his feeder. Yet something vital was missing. You must understand this fundamental truth. The universe responds not to your wanting, but to your being. When you seek from emptiness, you broadcast that emptiness into the field of infinite possibility. Your need becomes a signal that actually pushes away what you desire. Consider how Bernard spent his evenings, looking at photographs, remembering what was lost, feeling the weight of solitude. Each thought of loneliness only amplified his isolation. This is the paradox that few understand. Seeking companionship from a place of need creates more need. Then one morning, Bernard did something different. Instead of his usual rushed breakfast, he set his table with care. A pressed tablecloth, his finest china, fresh flowers in a crystal vase. He prepared his favorite meal, poured himself a cup of perfectly brewed tea, and sat down to enjoy his own company. For the first time in years, he felt a shift. The empty chair across from him was no longer accused. It simply waited. He began speaking his thoughts aloud, laughing at his own jokes, enjoying the simple pleasure of being present with himself. That evening, rather than staying home, Bernard decided to continue honoring his own company. He dressed in his best suit, drove to the small Italian restaurant on Main Street, and requested a table for one, not with apology, but with dignity. He ordered what he wanted, savored each bite, and felt a strange new sensation. Completeness. This is the sacred law at work. When you fill yourself with your own presence, you become magnetic to aligned companionship. You transmit wholeness instead of hunger. As Bernard finished his tiramisu, a familiar face appeared. Sarah, who taught piano at the local school. She too was dining alone, carrying herself with that same air of self-containment. Their eyes met, and both smiled with the ease of those who have nothing to prove. You see, the universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to resonance. When Bernard learned to be complete in his solitude, he naturally attracted someone who matched that frequency. Practice. Today, give yourself the love you seek from others. Prepare your favorite meal with care. Dress as though you're meeting someone special, because you are. Speak to yourself with tenderness. Feel the fullness of your own presence. This is not an exercise in settling for less. It is an alignment with the truth that all love begins within. Chapter 20. Collapse time. With one decision. In a sunlit workshop filled with the whisper of fabric and the gentle hum of a sewing machine, Genevieve stood before her life's work. For 15 years, she had crafted beautiful dresses for others while her own dreams gathered dust in a leather-bound sketchbook hidden beneath her work table. Each morning she would arrive early, touch that book, and whisper, "Maybe tomorrow." You hold within you the same power that Genevieve discovered, the ability to collapse time through absolute decision. When you hover between worlds, caught in the midst of perhaps, the universe can only reflect back that same uncertainty. But watch what happens when certainty ignites. The moment you move from contemplation to decision, you activate forces beyond mortal understanding. Time itself responds to the frequency of absolute knowledge. What seems to require years in the realm of hesitation can manifest in moments when touched by unwavering choice. In that workshop, surrounded by the dreams she had sown for others, Genevieve finally reached beneath her table. She opened her sketchbook, not with the familiar touch of longing, but with hands that trembled with certainty. "No more maybes," she whispered, and in that instant, 15 years of delay dissolved. On a quiet evening in early autumn, a young seamstress named Marie entered a small boutique in the heart of the city. She had heard whispers of a new designer whose work was transforming the local fashion scene. As she stepped inside, her eyes fell upon creations that seemed to dance with life, designs that had once lived only in a hidden sketchbook. The boutique's name, Genevieve's, glowed softly in golden letters on the window. What had seemed impossible just weeks before now stood manifest in thread and fabric. The journey that Genevieve thought would require years of preparation had unfolded with supernatural speed once she made her irrevocable choice. You see, the universe doesn't measure time in days or years. It measures in conviction. When you finally choose with your whole being, time bends to accommodate your decision. The path that seemed to require 1,000 steps can be crossed in one leap of faith. Practice. Stand before your mirror. Look into your own eyes. Make one clear, irreversible decision about your life, no matter how small. Speak it aloud with the full force of your being. Feel the shift as you cross the bridge from maybe to now. Let your next action arise not from planning, but from this new certainty. Part 3. The Mastery. Becoming the Force. Chapter 21. The Power that Responds to Emotion, Not Logic. In a dimly lit office, surrounded by columns of numbers and carefully organized ledgers, Glenn sat with his detailed 5-year plan spread before him. Each step was meticulously calculated, every goal broken down into precise, manageable segments. For 3 years, he had followed this plan without deviation, and for 3 years, he had remained exactly where he started. You may recognize yourself in Glenn's story. Perhaps you too have created perfect plans, outlined every logical step, yet found yourself standing still in the face of impeccable strategy. The mind, in all its brilliant calculation, often misses the most crucial element of manifestation, the power of pure feeling. The universe operates not through logic, but through resonance. It responds not to the perfect plan, but to the perfect frequency. When you align your emotional body with your desire, you transmit a signal more powerful than any strategy could produce. Consider how water flows, not in straight lines, but in patterns that follow the path of least resistance. Your manifestations work the same way. They flow not through the channels your mind has carved, but through the currents of your deepest feelings. One evening, as Glenn sat at his desk, something shifted. Instead of reviewing his plans, he closed his eyes and allowed himself to feel what he truly wanted. Not the steps to get there, not the logical progression, just the pure, unfettered feeling of having arrived. In that moment, his entire being vibrated with a new frequency. Within days, opportunities appeared that no amount of planning could have predicted. A chance conversation led to an introduction. An old colleague reached out with a proposition that aligned perfectly with his dreams. The very doors he had been meticulously plotting to open simply swung wide at the touch of his newfound emotional certainty. You see, the universe doesn't read your plans. It reads your frequency. When you allow yourself to feel the reality of your desire, you broadcast a signal that bypasses all logical constraints. This is why someone with a perfect strategy might remain stuck, while another with pure emotional alignment seems to attract miracles. Logic serves as a map, but feeling is the vehicle that actually moves you forward. Your emotions are not just reactions to life, they are instructions to the universe, commands that shape the very fabric of your reality. Practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and set aside all plans and strategies. Allow yourself to feel the pure essence of your desire as if it's already yours. Don't think about how it will happen. Just immerse yourself in the feeling of it being done. Let this feeling fill your entire being for several minutes. Notice how your body responds to this new frequency. Chapter 22. Living as if means living in power. In a modest storefront on a quiet street, Nadine arranged roses with trembling hands, wondering how she would cover next month's rent. Her tiny flower shop, while beloved by a few loyal customers, barely sustained itself. Yet something stirred within her that morning, a knowing that transcended her circumstances. Without changing a single flower or fixture, she began moving through her shop differently. She adjusted her posture, lifted her chin, and handled each stem as if it were precious cargo for royalty. She polished the windows until they gleamed and arranged her simple bouquets with the reverence of rare art pieces. You see, reality shifts not when circumstances change, but when your inner stance transforms. The universe responds not to what surrounds you, but to how you carry yourself within those surroundings. When you embody the frequency of your desired reality, when you move, speak, and breathe as if it's already here, you transmit an unshakable command to the unseen forces that shape your world. This is not pretense or performance. It is energetic truth-telling. Consider how a queen moves through a room. She doesn't become royal when others acknowledge her. Her royalty is an inner knowing that commands acknowledgement. This same principle governs all manifestation. You must see it before you see it. As Nadine began treating every transaction as a luxury experience, something remarkable occurred. Her regular customers began ordering larger arrangements. New clients, drawn by an inexplicable shift in the shop's energy, started appearing. Without changing her inventory or location, she had changed the frequency her business broadcast to the world. One afternoon, a well-dressed woman entered the shop, paused, and looked around with appreciation. "There's something different about this place," she said, before ordering arrangements for her entire estate. That single order exceeded Nadine's typical monthly income. You see, she had discovered a fundamental truth. Circumstances don't dictate energy. Energy dictates circumstances. By living as if, she had collapsed the distance between her current reality and her desired outcome. Practice. For 1 hour today, live as if your desire is already manifest in your world. Speak, walk, and decide from that elevated vibration of completion and fulfillment. Move through your space as if you are already who you wish to become, not as an act of pretense, but as a recognition of your inherent power to shape reality. Let every gesture flow with quiet confidence. Every word carries the weight of certainty, and every choice reflects this deeper truth. As you go about your daily activities, maintain this heightened awareness of your desired state, allowing it to infuse each moment with purpose and possibility. This is not mere imagination, but a deliberate alignment with the frequency of your chosen reality. Chapter 23. Protect your field guard, your gates. Each morning, Sylvester stood at his train platform, absorbing the complaints and worries of countless passengers. Their heavy sighs and bitter words settled into his spirit like morning fog, clouding his natural light. Though he smiled and nodded, their energy became his energy, their burdens his burdens. You hold within you a sacred frequency, one that manifests your reality with precision and power. Yet how often do you allow this frequency to be disrupted by the energies around you? Your vibrational field is not meant to be an open door for every passing emotion or thought. The universe responds to your dominant frequency. When you allow others' doubts, fears, and limitations to penetrate your energetic space, you broadcast a mixed signal, one that creates mixed results. Your power lies not in absorbing everything, but in choosing what you allow to resonate within your field. One day, Sylvester discovered an ancient truth. He could serve others without taking on their energy. He began visualizing a shield of golden light around himself each morning. When passengers approached with their usual complaints, he listened with compassion but maintained his energetic boundaries. Their words no longer penetrated his field. They simply passed by like clouds in the sky. Within weeks, his platform began to feel different. Passengers seemed calmer, more positive. Some even remarked on the peaceful atmosphere that surrounded him. Nothing in his external circumstances had changed. He had simply learned to guard his energetic gates. You see, your energy field is your first point of creation. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you absorb, every conversation you engage in, these are all inputs that shape your manifesting power. To manifest with clarity and speed, you must treat these inputs as sacred. Not all energy deserves access to your creative field. Some must be blessed and released, allowing you to maintain the pure frequency of your intentions. This is not rejection. It is spiritual discernment. When Sylvester mastered his energetic boundaries, life responded in kind. Opportunities arose effortlessly, relationships improved, and his natural joy remained undisturbed by external chaos. He had discovered that protecting his frequency was not selfish. It was essential for serving at his highest level. Practice. Take time today to observe the various energetic inputs flowing into your life. Notice which ones lift your spirit and which ones subtly drain your power. Choose one input that consistently diminishes your creative force, whether it's a draining relationship, a negative habit, or an environment that doesn't serve your highest good. With gentle awareness and loving intention, close that energetic gate. As you do so, offer a blessing of gratitude for the lessons it brought. Then declare your space as sacred ground. Feel the immediate shift as your manifesting field becomes clearer, lighter, and more attuned to divine possibility. Chapter 24. The Unseen Agreements You Must Break. In a small church basement, Bernice taught children to sing. Each week she would say the same words her mother once said: "We must work twice as hard because nothing comes easy to our family." The children learned beautiful songs, but they also absorbed her unconscious belief in struggle. You carry within you agreements you never consciously made. These contracts were written in the quiet moments of childhood, in the whispered beliefs of ancestors, in the unspoken rules of those who came before. Like invisible chains, they bind your creative force to old stories of limitation. Listen carefully to the words you speak without thinking. Notice the patterns you accept without questioning. These are not random habits. They are spiritual contracts you've inherited or created, each one shaping the frequency you broadcast to the universe. The power to rewrite these agreements lies within you. The moment you become aware of a limiting contract, you gain the authority to dissolve it. Your consciousness is the pen that can strike through old vows and write new ones. One morning, while teaching a particularly difficult piece, Bernice heard herself repeat those familiar words about struggle. But this time, she stopped mid-sentence. In that pause, she saw clearly how this belief had shaped her entire life, her health, her finances, her relationships. With tears in her eyes, she turned to her students and spoke different words. Music flows easily through us because we are naturally gifted. That simple shift, that conscious breaking of an old contract, sent ripples through the fabric of her reality. Within weeks, her choir performed with newfound ease. Her chronic headaches began to fade. An unexpected inheritance arrived. The universe responded not to her years of effort, but to her new energetic agreement. You see, these agreements are not mere thoughts. They are vibrational commitments that the universe honors with precise loyalty. When you declare, "Life is hard," the universe says, "Yes." When you believe, "I must struggle to succeed," the universe arranges circumstances to match that contract. But just as Bernice discovered, you can dissolve these agreements with the power of conscious choice. You are not bound by the limitations written into your past. You are free to write new contracts aligned with abundance, ease, and grace. Practice. Write down one inherited belief, a limitation passed down through your family line or absorbed from society's expectations. Draw a firm line through it, marking its dissolution from your energetic field. Beneath that crossed-out belief, inscribe your new sacred agreement with the universe, one that aligns with your highest vision for yourself. Read this new contract aloud each day, letting the vibration of your voice seal this truth into the quantum field. Feel the old agreement dissolving as your new declaration takes root in the fertile soil of infinite possibility. Chapter 25. You are the answer you've been waiting for. In a quiet church on the outskirts of town, Gerald knelt each evening, praying for divine intervention. His congregation dwindled, the roof leaked, and bills mounted. Each night he would whisper, "Lord, send us help." Each morning he would wake to the same reality. For months this ritual continued, until one stormy evening changed everything. You possess a truth so fundamental that its simplicity often escapes notice. You are not separate from the force you seek. The universe does not operate through distant miracles. It expresses itself through you. When you wait for external rescue, you deny the very power flowing through your being. This is not mere philosophy. It is spiritual law. The force you seek is not dormant, waiting to be activated by someone else's hand. It is alive, awake, and expressing itself through your thoughts, your hands, your voice, your presence. You are not the recipient of power. You are power in motion. Many spend years looking outward for what already exists within. They pray for abundance while ignoring their own creative force. They seek healing while forgetting their own regenerative power. They ask for guidance while dismissing their own inner wisdom. One evening, as Gerald knelt in his usual spot, thunder cracked overhead. Water began dripping through the old roof, forming a small pool that reflected his face. In that reflection, he saw something he had missed all along. The answer he sought was staring back at him. Standing up, he walked to the church bulletin board and began writing, "Roof Repair Workshop, this Saturday." The next morning his congregation arrived to find Gerald already on the roof, tools in hand. One by one, they joined him. What began as a simple repair project transformed into a monthly community gathering. The church came alive not through divine intervention, but through Gerald becoming the channel for change. You see, the universe does not respond to passive waiting. It responds to embodied knowing. When you realize that you are the vessel through which miracles flow, waiting dissolves into action, and prayer transforms into presence. The force you seek is not hiding in some distant realm. It pulses through your veins, speaks through your words, and moves through your actions. You are not waiting to be rescued. You are the rescuer in waiting. You are not seeking the answer. You are the answer seeking expression. Practice. Stand in front of a mirror. Say, "The answer I seek is me." Repeat it until you feel it. Chapter 26. How to stay in the vibration that attracts everything. In a small seaside kitchen, Rosie prepared meals with devotion. Each morning she would wake early, light a candle, and speak her dreams into the dawn. For fleeting moments she felt the thrill of possibility course through her. But by midday, under the weight of orders and demands, that precious feeling would slip away like morning mist. You must understand this vital truth. Manifestation is not a moment. It is a maintained frequency. The universe responds not to occasional peaks of alignment, but to sustained vibration. Many touch the state of creative power briefly, only to let it dissolve in the face of daily life. This is why grand visions often yield small results. The secret lies not in reaching higher states, but in stabilizing the ones you achieve. Your vibrational stability determines your manifestation ability. Think of it as tuning a radio. A clear signal maintained brings in perfect reception, while one that wavers creates static in your results. This is not about forcing constant positivity. It is about creating conscious anchors throughout your day that return you to your chosen frequency. These anchors, be they sounds, scents, objects, or rituals, become bridges back to your power when the world threatens to pull you off course. One day Rosie noticed how the scent of vanilla always lifted her spirit. She began placing drops of vanilla essence on her wrists each morning. She tucked small bottles in her apron pocket, her car, her bedside table. Whenever the day's pressure mounted, one breath of that sweet aroma would return her to that morning's state of possibility. Soon, she found herself maintaining her creative frequency, not just in moments of quiet, but in the midst of chaos. Orders piled up, but she remained centered. Staff called in sick, but she stayed in her power. The vanilla became more than a scent. It became a gateway back to her manifesting vibration. Within weeks, opportunities began flowing, not in sporadic bursts as before, but in a steady stream. A food critic discovered her kitchen. A local magazine featured her story. An investor proposed expansion. The universe was responding not to her peaks of alignment, but to her newfound stability. The power to create lies not in how high you can raise your vibration, but in how steady you can keep it. Let your environment support your frequency. Fill your space with conscious reminders of your chosen state. These are not mere tokens. They are spiritual technology designed to keep you in sustained alignment with your desires. Practice. Choose one song, scent, or object to anchor your desired state. Let it become your sacred touchstone, a bridge between the mundane and the divine. Return to it throughout the day, allowing its presence to gently guide you back to your chosen frequency. This anchor serves as both reminder and catalyst, helping you maintain the energetic signature that draws your desires closer. Whether it's the soft chime of a bell, the calming aroma of lavender, or a crystal worn close to your heart, let this conscious choice become your spiritual compass. Chapter 27. The Sacred Discipline of Trusting. In the rolling hills of a distant valley, Luther tended the fields each dawn, his calloused hands moving through ancient motions passed down through generations. The harvest had been lean for 3 seasons, yet something stirred in him one morning as he watched the sun pierce through morning mist. Instead of worry, he felt an inexplicable peace wash over him. In that moment, he chose to trust, not with blind hope, but with unwavering certainty. You must grasp this essential truth. Trust is not passive waiting. It is an active force, a spiritual muscle that, when exercised, moves mountains in the unseen. Most mistake trust for inaction or desperate hope. True trust is a state of knowing so complete that it transforms the waiting period into sacred ground. The space between your spiritual decision and its physical manifestation is not empty. It is fertile. It is here, in this gap, that your trust becomes a bridge between worlds. When you maintain certainty in the face of apparent nothingness, you demonstrate mastery over the law. Those who waver during this period delay their manifestations. Those who stand firm in trust speed them forward. Your certainty in the dark is itself a light that draws your desire closer. Luther continued his work, but something had shifted in his inner world. Where once he had watched the sky with anxiety, he now smiled at the clouds, knowing rain would come at the perfect time. Where others saw barren fields, he saw abundance preparing to emerge. His trust was not blind. It was knowing. One morning, Luther discovered shoots of green breaking through soil that had seemed lifeless just days before. As the weeks passed, his fields flourished while others struggled. When asked his secret, he simply smiled and pointed to his heart. The harvest that year exceeded all expectations, but Luther was not surprised. He had already seen it in the eyes of his trust. Your trust is not merely hope for a better future. It is recognition of what is already done in the spiritual realm. When you trust with this depth, you collapse time itself. The universe responds not to your asking, but to your knowing. Practice. Choose one area of life where you seek transformation. Write these sacred words in your journal or speak them aloud with conviction. I trust the unfolding. Let each syllable resonate through your being as you breathe deeply into this truth. Feel how these words settle into your heart, your mind, your very cells. Speak them again and again, allowing their power to ripple outward into the universe. Then become the witness. Watch with wonder as doors begin to open, as synchronicities align, as the perfect path reveals itself before you. The universe responds to your unwavering trust with divine precision. Chapter 28. Move. As if it's already here. In a sunlit studio at the edge of town, Opal stood before her easel each morning, paintbrush poised like a wand. Though her work had yet to grace any gallery walls, she began carrying herself with the quiet confidence of an acclaimed artist. Not with arrogance or pretense, but with the natural grace of one who knows their worth. She spoke of her art not as something striving to be seen, but as work that already touched lives. In her heart, she had crossed an invisible threshold. You must understand this vital principle. The speed of manifestation accelerates when you move beyond wanting into being. Identity is the highest frequency you can broadcast. When you shift from seeking to embodying, the universe responds not to your request, but to your resonance. The gap between where you stand and where you desire to be exists only in time, not in truth. By acting from the energy of fulfillment, not as a technique, but as an authentic expression of who you are becoming, you send ripples through the fabric of reality itself. This is not about pretending or forcing. It is about allowing yourself to expand into the truth that already exists in the spiritual realm. Your physical reality must follow your energetic lead. One afternoon, as Opal arranged her paintings with the care of a curator rather than the desperation of an unknown artist, a stranger walked into her studio. This visitor, drawn by an inexplicable pull, felt the presence of something extraordinary. Without hesitation, they commissioned a series of works for their international hotel chain, a commission that would have seemed impossible just months before. What changed? Not her talent, which had always been present, not her technique, which remained consistent. What shifted was her energy, from hoping to knowing, from seeking to being. Later, when asked about this sudden success, Opal shared a simple truth. I stopped pushing my art into the world and started living as though the world had already recognized its value. The rest followed naturally. Your actions carry a frequency. When they flow from aligned identity rather than desperate effort, they become magnetic. The universe doesn't respond to what you do. It responds to who you are being while you do it. Practice. Choose one small action today that your future self, the version of you who has already achieved what you desire, would naturally take. Perform this action with complete presence and awareness, allowing yourself to embody that future state of being. Let your movements flow from this expanded identity, sensing how your future self would carry themselves, speak, and engage with the world. In this way, you collapse time and bring tomorrow's reality into this present moment. Chapter 29. The Flame That Burns. Alone, before the world sees the light. In a small town where dreams rarely ventured beyond the county line, Harvey walked the empty halls of his struggling school each morning before sunrise. In his mind's eye, he saw not peeling paint and outdated textbooks, but a vibrant center of learning where every child discovered their genius. While others saw budget constraints and declining enrollment, Harvey carried a vision so clear it felt more real than the challenges before him. You must understand this truth. The greatest manifestations often begin in solitude. Your inner knowing may walk alone for a time, understood by no one but you and the universe. This is not a sign of delusion. It is the mark of spiritual pioneers who dare to hold frequencies others cannot yet perceive. When you connect with a vision that sets your soul ablaze, you must protect that sacred flame. The world around you may not yet have eyes to see what burns so clearly in your heart. Their doubt is not your burden to carry. Your only task is to tend the fire of your knowing. In the realm of spiritual law, ridicule often precedes revelation. Those who laugh today will later ask how you knew, but you must not wait for their validation to believe. Your conviction is not up for vote. It is a private covenant between you and the divine. As weeks turned to months, Harvey quietly transformed one classroom at a time. While others mocked his wishful thinking, he continued placing college pennants on walls, speaking of excellence as though it already filled every corner. He wrote grant proposals with unwavering certainty, described his school to strangers as though its transformation was complete. Then one morning, a wealthy alumnus visited, drawn by an inexplicable urge to see their old school. They felt something different in the atmosphere, a tangible energy of possibility. Within days, a substantial donation arrived. More followed. The vision Harvey had nurtured in solitude suddenly blazed visible for all to see. What others had dismissed as fantasy became front-page news. The same voices that had whispered, "Impossible," now asked how he had known all along. But Harvey understood. He hadn't known with his mind. He had held it with his soul. Your vision may walk alone for a time. Let it. Sacred things often begin in solitude. Your task is not to convince others. It is to hold steady in your knowing until reality rises to meet it. Practice. Write your vision down and carry it with you for 7 days. Let these sacred words rest close to your heart, a tangible reminder of the truth you hold within. Whenever doubt arises or the voices of disbelief grow loud, place your hand upon these written words and say with quiet conviction, "I see it, and that is enough." Feel the power of this simple affirmation dissolve your uncertainty, for in these moments you align yourself with the ancient knowing that has guided visionaries throughout time. Chapter 30. The unstoppable force is you. In a sunlit room filled with memories, Lillian sat surrounded by decades of leather-bound journals. Her fingers traced the faded ink of entries past, each page a testament to moments when life had transformed through what she once called lucky breaks. But as she read deeper, a pattern emerged. Every miracle, every open door, every unexpected blessing had followed a shift in her own energy. You see, The truth lies not in seeking external forces, but in awakening to what you have always been. The force you've learned to command is not separate from your essence. It is your essence. Just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, you are not separate from the power that moves worlds. Throughout these teachings, you have discovered how to align, how to command, how to manifest. But now comes the deepest truth. You are not the commander of the force. You are the force expressing itself in human form. Every breath you take is the universe breathing. Every step you take is infinitely walking. Every thought you think is creation thinking through you. When you finally grasp this truth, manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. There is nothing to attract, nothing to align with. There is only the remembrance of what you are. Lillian stood before her old piano, dusty from years of silence. But this time she didn't sing to be heard. She sang to vibrate truth into being. Her voice carried not ambition or need, but the pure resonance of someone who knows they are the source. The notes that filled the room were not performance. They were presence itself, dancing into form. The universe does not respond to you. It moves as you, through you, in perfect synchronicity with your knowing. You are the field where all possibilities bloom. You are the current that brings them to life. And you are the key that has always been turning, waiting for you to recognize your own hand on the lock. This is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what you have always been. The force is not your tool. It is your nature. Walk forward now, not as one who uses power, but as power itself made manifest. Practice. Place your hands on your chest, feeling the steady rhythm of your heart, and speak these words with the power of absolute knowing. The force is not outside me. It is me. I walk as the answer. Let each word resonate through your being, awakening the dormant truth within. Feel how this declaration sends ripples through the fabric of your consciousness, aligning you with the infinite power that has always been your birthright. Conclusion. You have arrived at a threshold, yet this moment marks not an ending, but an opening into deeper knowing. The wisdom you now carry is not separate from your being. It has merged with your essence, becoming as natural as your breath, as constant as your heartbeat. Through these chapters, you've remembered what your soul has always known, that the force flowing through all creation flows through you, not as something borrowed or learned, but as your fundamental nature. Each chapter has been a key, unlocking chambers of memory within your spirit. Each practice has been a thread, weaving this ancient knowing back into the fabric of your consciousness. The signs are already visible in your life. Perhaps you've noticed how quickly reality responds to your aligned state, how doors open before you knock, how solutions arise before problems fully form. This is not a coincidence. It is a consequence, the natural result of remembering who you are. But mastery is not a destination you reach and rest within. It is a dance you choose again each morning, a song you sing anew with each breath. The tools shared here, the practices, the alignments, the sacred ways of being, these are now yours to use, to explore, to embody. They will deepen with each passing day, revealing new layers of power as you continue to expand. You walk now not as one seeking truth, but as truth expressing itself. Not as one hoping for power, but as power taking form. The force you've awakened to is not a visitor. It is your essence. Use it with reverence. Wield it with wisdom. Express it with love. Let each moment be a fresh choice to remember. Let each breath be a new beginning. Let each step forward carry the full weight of your knowledge. For you are not becoming something new. You are finally, fully being who you've always been. The force is you. It has always been you. Walk on in this knowing. Your journey doesn't end here. Click on this next audiobook that I promise will completely transform your perspective.